Hey guys, welcome back to Magic the Gathering Online, Speculation, Economics, and Finance. I'm your host, Birdman, where we're going to break down some of the things you should be doing to maximize the value that you're getting in Magic the Gathering Online with speculation, keeping an eye on the economy, and just kind of talking some finance, collection management stuff, metagame stuff in general. I think going forward, I'm also a big fan of the Pauper format, so I don't know, I might do some deck techs on that or something like that. Anyway. Today I just want to talk about a few big picture things. I haven't put up a new episode in a while. So I think one of the things that I want to kind of touch base with is if anybody out there is actually listening, if there's even one person out there who actually finds this little show I'm doing moderately amusing, then, post a comment, give a shout out, not seeking any high praise here, but just seeing if anybody's listening. I've actually put a number of specs out there, and not to brag, but pretty much every spec I've called has landed. The only thing I was a smidge off on was that last round of betting on Gideons. I thought they'd get to 20, and they only got up to 18, but I was buying in at 16. I didn't pull the trigger at 18, so I took a bath on those, but I mean, I was saying you should buy at 16, and then they went to 18, so technically they did go up after that. And there's been a lot of things like, man, the Hazorettes exploded a couple episodes back. I was talking about those were definitely something reasonable to keep an eye on or pick up, and if anybody out there was actually listening, you're making money on that. There's just been a ton of picks that I've called out that have been great picks, and if even one person out there is listening and hearing this advice and enjoys that kind of thing, then great, it's worth it. I actually really enjoy doing this when I have time, but I'm just so squeezed for time that if there's literally no one listening at some point, may drop off the show. But so if there's anybody out there, you're enjoying the show, you'd like me to keep posting episodes and giving you picks and stuff like that, just leave some comments. I want to take a minute to talk Pauper. So let's take a look at, we're once again back at MTGO Goldfish, looking at the Pauper metagame. The fourth deck as far as metagame by percentage is Dendrovatron. It's got 6.23% of the metagame. The top deck in the Pauper meta is Affinity with 13.55% of the meta. Now look, even if you don't give two craps about Pauper or the metagame, but you want to make money, then let me point this out. Moment's Peace is a real card in Pauper. You can see that it's run as a 2 of in the main with a 1 of in the sideboard. This is a pretty standard Dendrovatron list, and there's a number of other decks in Pauper that also run Moment's Peace. Now if you take a look at Moment's Peace, it is currently sitting at about $2. You can look at the price chart on MTG Goldfish and see that about the time Hour of Devastation was released, Moment's Peace was sitting at around 4.5 tickets. Now it's down to 2. And in the past, Moment's Peace has crested over 4 tickets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times since March of 2017. So we got a pretty good pattern of this card dropping down in the mid $2 range, mid to low, somewhere between 2 and 2.5, and then bouncing back over 4. And right now, if you were lucky enough to buy this card when it got down to close to a ticket, you're killing it. But even still, you can still make some great money on this card if you hit the bots. I've already made a round of buying some of these, so if anyone's actually listening to this show and wants to get in on this action, I won't buy any more for at least a couple of more days, just to give anybody a chance, again, in case anyone's out there listening wants to capitalize on this. The reason the price dipped this low, as you can see, this particular price drop was much more extreme than in the past. The reason for that is because Moment's Peace was an Odyssey set card, and Odyssey just had a flashback draft for the last week. That ended yesterday on Wednesday. I'm recording this on August the 17th, 2017, a Thursday. So yesterday, the Odyssey flashback draft ended, and already the price is rebounding. Sometimes on flashback drafts, cards don't even rebound right away. Sometimes they continue to trend downward after after the flashback is over. And these are cards that really there's not that much demand for, like cards that continue to trend downward after a flashback ends, and they were cards from that flashback format, and they just keep trending downward after the flashback is over. What it means is that card was not really seriously in demand. There was just such a limited supply propping up the price, and once the extra supply came in, the price just collapses. Now, a card like Moment's Peace, I think what actually happened here is this card is a very in-demand card in Pauper. This is a real card that sees a lot of play in a lot of different decks. Most of them are more fringe, but Denrovitron is a major real deck in the format. And if you actually look at the day that this card hit rock bottom, it was on 8/12. Now, Wednesday when the draft ended was 8/16. If you look at this card, rebounded really strong on 8/14, which was in the middle of the flashback draft. So while supply of Moment's Peace was still increasing from the flashback draft, the card was already rebounding. What I believe this means is people were anticipating a flood of supply of Moment's Peace cards coming in. People panicked, sold, the price crashed. Then people realized, hey, you know what, now that the price has crashed, I want to buy back in and get my Moment's Pieces back, because I didn't actually want to get rid of them. I just didn't want to get stuck holding them when the price crashed. So, maybe you got some people who, were holding them around 2.5 tickets, managed to sell for 1.5 tickets, and then buy back, around 1.2 tickets, and they actually make like a quarter. They don't lose any value, but they actually want to keep their Moment's Peace cards. So once the card starts to get close to a ticket, everybody starts to buy them back, because this isn't a card that, the people that were holding this card didn't genuinely want to unload it. I think a lot of people who had this card really wanted the card. They just didn't want to lose value, so when they saw the flashback draft coming, a lot of people just fire sold it. But then, as the price started to go down, people wanted to get their copies back, so they started buying, and there was more demand. The demand was outpacing the supply, even during the flashback draft ongoing, which means that there was, more demand than supply, which is not really surprising, considering, again, I think this is a real card in Pauper. And again, even if you don't give a crap about Pauper, we're just looking at supply and demand and the possibility of making money on this card. The other thing is, Odyssey is an absolute trash set as far as value goes. I'm not going to comment on whether it's a good set to draft in terms of whether or not it's fun to play, but when you look at the values online for these cards, it is atrocious, considering how old this set is, and how relatively little supply there probably is of this compared to more recent sets. The most valuable card online in the whole set is Decimate at 3.77 tickets. Right under $4. That is horrible. I mean, and you've only got 4 cards that are even over $3. That's it. 4 cards: Decimate, Petrified Field, Patron Wizard, and Entomb. That's it. Everything else is under 3, and that's at the top of this thing. I mean, you run out of cards that are really worth much of anything real freaking fast. I mean, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you get to the 10th most valuable card in the set is 1.66 tickets in Shadow Blood Ridge. And if you open that bad boy up right now, it's the highest buy list is 0.75. So you can't even get 1 ticket for the 10th most valuable card in the set. And it's not like at the top end of the set there's big money either. Again, the top card is can't even get 4 tickets. So the whole set is not worth trash. Okay, it's not worth drafting from a value standpoint. And I doubt a whole lot of people really were going to be drafting this, because the really serious drafters, they want to draft the new stuff that's relevant. The people who are kind of more casual, a lot of those people want to get some value. Like if Zendikar popped up and you could get, drafting a set or a block where you could actually get some valuable cards to help offset the cost of the draft, I think there could be a lot of interest in that in some of the more casual drafters. But drafting a set that's not really that relevant isn't going to help you prepare for tournaments, isn't going to help you prepare for drafting at your local card shop. There's no value there. It's old. I don't even know how much fun this set really is to draft. I've heard some people say it's pretty fun, but I mean, I don't know if it's fun enough to kind of dirtle around and lose money because, you know, unless you're like 3-0ing these draft pods, you know, you're not making anything. And even if you're 3-0ing, these cards are just worth so little, you might still be close to losing money. It's pretty bad. So the point is, I bet not that many people are actually drafting. Maybe a few who just did it because they were sentimental and really enjoyed, you know, Odyssey draft or whatever, but that was so long ago, I doubt there's that many people. So I don't know how many Moments pieces were actually added to the market. Bottom line, there was definitely an injection. This could create a new lower price floor, which could keep this card from, you know, reaching the $4 plateau it had been cycling through with as much ease as before. It could take, you know, it looks like, you know, we were seeing like maybe a month to 2 months between the plateaus of hitting 4 tickets. So you got like, you know, card goes over 4 tickets and then a month or 2 goes by before it does it again. And that kind of seems to be the pattern. And so what I'm telling you is it could be, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months before we get back to 4 tickets. I don't know. It could be a while. But I'm almost positive that unless there's some additional promos or reprints or something, which I don't think there will be in the next 6 months, I think this is a surefire winner. I don't know how much you make on this. Maybe you only make like 50 cents a copy, but maybe you make as much as $1.50 a copy. But I mean, considering these are only $2 a piece right now, and if you buy them all the way up to 2 1/4, 2.5 maybe even, you know, you can probably get 16, 20 copies maybe if you make your purchases intelligently. You know, I've made videos in the past on, you know, how to make purchases to get the most copies and drive the price up as slow as possible. And you know, you could make some good percentage returns on your money. So today I'm talking Moments piece. That's the card I would recommend. Stepping away from that, I want to talk a little bit about the metagame, where we're at, what's going on. So a lot of people, when they start seeing something happening with a card, they get all excited and they want to buy the card. For example, Chandra Torch of Defiance has been going baznockers. You know, at the time that Amonkhet released, Chandra was sitting at 12.6 tickets. Now it's 43 tickets. So when you watch all that action, it's really exciting. People want to buy Chandra. Of course, a lot of people just want to buy it to play with it because it's good in so many different decks right now, which is cool. If you need to play with the card, buy it. But you don't want to be buying cards after they've already gone up this much. I think most anybody who has any common sense or is, you know, familiar with any kind of Magic, finance, or finance in general, or understand, you don't want to get in after all this has happened. You wanted to buy this card at 12. So what we want to be doing right now is we want to be buying the next Chandra Torch of Defiance, or maybe not even the next Chandra, but we want to find something that just doesn't look all that exciting right now. And if you go back to, you know, Amonkhet and pre-Amonkhet, Chandra looked like a powerful card, but just wasn't really doing anything. So what we want to keep our eye out for are cards that look very powerful, that aren't really doing much. And oh yeah, the mythic rarity helps a lot if we want to try to make some money. So what I would suggest, generally speaking, and we'll drill down on this some more in the future in terms of actually breaking this down, but we want to do 3 things. 1, we want to look and evaluate all the mythics, and we want to say how powerful are these mythics. If it's a really powerful mythic, you know, we want to keep an eye on that echelon of mythics. If we think it's something that's powerful enough at some point to be pretty viable and standard. 2, we want to evaluate casting cost. In my opinion, a card that gets over 3 or 4 mana, 4 mana is pushing it, it's kind of the limit. Once we get to 5 mana, I don't care how good it looks, I'm not interested. So powerful mythics, 4 mana or less, and we're looking for something that theoretically has the potential to be in multiple different deck archetypes. If it's only going to be pigeonholed into one deck archetype, again, not what we're looking for if we really want to make some big money. So mythic, 4 mana or less, could fit into different archetypes. And you know, paying a particular attention to planeswalkers because they often have a chance to explode and do pretty cool things. So that's one thing we want to look at. The next thing we want to take a look at, which is what we're going to look at today, is look at the top 8 decks in Standard and ask ourselves, where is Standard headed, and which of these decks are still going to have a chance to be around after rotation comes down. Ramunap red loses Incendiary Flow. That's the main thing. It also loses Falconwrath Gorger. Falconwrath Gorger is a 2/1 for 1 red mana. Incendiary Flow is basically a 3 damage burn card for 2 mana. The burn card is the one I'm more worried about. If the next Magic set that comes out gives us a replacement burn effect for a similar mana cost, the deck's probably okay. If you lose that burn card and you don't have another replacement burn card, all you have is shock. So, I mean, the deck's probably still a great deck, but it would definitely lose something there. Mono Black Zombies gets absolutely destroyed. I mean, just absolutely destroyed. You can pull it up and look at the deck list. It loses so many cards, it's crazy. Team Your Energy almost doesn't even change at all. There's like one slot that different people do different things with, but so much of the deck is not going to rotate that it should still be a thing. You know, the obvious pick from the deck would be to go with Chandra, but that's already bounced, so we're not interested there. Marty Vehicles is kind of there, except it loses Thraben Inspector and Gideon, Alley of Zendikar. And those are both really important cards to the deck, so even though a lot of the cards would still theoretically be available, I don't know if Marty is still going to be a thing. Black-Green Constrictor and Green-Black Delirium, they lose Nissa. They also lose the Snake, the Constrictor. And they both lose the what is it, the land tutor card, the 1 green, search up a land. If you've got Delirium, you can search up a creature. I think green-black decks are going to get hurt a lot. Blue-white Control is still basically a deck. Red-green Ramp loses the big fatty Ulamog at the top of the curve, which certainly was a reason. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, also loses World Breaker. So I think the deck's got some real problems as far as figuring out what it's ramping into. It also loses Kozilek's Return, which is huge. So I don't know if Green Red Ramp is going to have enough action at the top of the curve to be worth it anymore. So we're going to see enough shaking up. It'll be interesting to see if Red Deck gets dethroned, even though Red Deck may lose a little something if it doesn't have a 2-mana burn spell anymore. But the deck is so strong right now that even if it, say, gets another 1-mana, 2 damage spell that can't even go to a player's face, as long the deck will come up with something that it can do to fill that slot and still be very powerful, even if it doesn't have a solid burn card as a finisher to get some reach. So anyway, that's kind of something to take into account. We'll kind of delve into this stuff a little bit more next time. But just keep that in mind as we're going forward. The next thing we kind of want to look at here is we want to evaluate, at least as far as standard goes, we want to look at the sets that are not going to rotate. So we're going to go Hour of Devastation, Amonkhet, Aether Revolt, and Kaladesh. And I'm just walking you through this so you can kind of see my thoughts on the analysis. And we're going to sort by rarity on each of these sets because we really just want to look at the mythics, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with picking up rares. You can definitely get somewhere on that, but with mythics it's just so much easier because there's so much less supply that if you find something that's actually good, it's going to have a lot more potential. Anyway, the Scarab God's at 10. It's a blue-black control card, so that's a no. Cost 5. Nicole Bolas cost 7. Nope. Crystal Sunmare 5. Nope. Scorpion God. Nope. Locust God. Nope. Razaketh. Nope. Neheb, 5 mana. All these are more than 4 mana, so I mean we're just saying no to all of these as a matter of course. Salmon is a planeswalker, costs 4. Theoretically, could be something we care about, but it's red and green. Two different colors on a planeswalker is not where we want to be because it really limits the kind of decks it can go into. So I'm just going to say no. Uncaged Menagerie is really interesting. I tend to think this is way too dirtily and clunky to do anything, but it's the kind of card that, because it's a tutor, because it can give a color like green a way to essentially get some card advantage, because it could help with some kind of creature combo deck, that there's theoretical universes out there where this card could do something. Now I realize most of the time you're going to pay more than 4 mana, but you could tutor up just two costed creatures. So Uncaged Menagerie is also at 0.24 tickets right now. So, I mean, it's super cheap. If it never does anything, the card's probably not going to go below 15 cents. If the card ever found its way into some kind of a deck, it could probably easily get up to $1 or $2. It's probably not the kind of card that's going to see play in more than one deck, so that's a strike against it. But this is a card that might be just worth picking up. I've already picked up a few of these, and if the card gets any lower, I'll probably pick up some more. Nope. All the rest of these. Okay, so that's it. So the only thing out of Hour of Devastation we're even kind of thinking about is Uncaged the Menagerie. And I'm not endorsing this card as actually having a high chance to get anywhere. I give this card, I would say, maybe a 30% chance to get anywhere. But I still think it's worth picking up because there's just so much upside to this and so little downside that it's just kind of worth gambling on anyway, I think. So Uncaged the Menagerie is the only winner I see in Hour of Devastation. So let's move on to Amonkhet. And as you can see, this analysis isn't really difficult. It's not hard. It doesn't take a lot of time. Hazoret, yep, but it's already bounced. Could we go higher? I think the issue with Hazoret is he's at his best when you have no hand, which means he wants to be in a really aggressive deck. Red is so strong right now. I just basically don't see Hazoret getting, I don't know. It's possible that he could go up even more, but a lot of the money to be made on this card was already made. Like I said, an episode or 2 or 3 back, I said, you know, hey, this is a card that's probably going to get there. You might want to pick these up around 3 or whatever, 2, 3, I forget, but that time has passed. Liliana, no. Gideon, boom, money, action. This is what we're talking about. Short version, 3 mana Planeswalker, that's good. Does stuff, that's good. Semi-relevant abilities, could fit into a control deck. It's not going to be as great in an aggro deck, but you know, I mean, it could still work there. So anyway, I think the Gideon is not a bad call, but the question is, are we buying this as at a point where it's as cheap as it's going to be? And I think the answer is plus or minus, yeah. It looks like this card, you know, at its lowest, you know, the stats on MTG Goldfish say 2 tickets. That's not really accurate. It's really more like a little over 5 tickets has been its lowest. It's at 6.28 right now. I don't know that this got a little bit of bump just probably because of the coverage it got from the modern action it's been seeing. So if you want to give it a little time to cool off and see if it's going to get below 6, that's fine. I don't know if this is going to make any money quickly. I don't think you're going to lose a ton of money on this, especially once the other Gideon rotates out. People will probably experiment more with this. I don't know if this card's ever going to go really high, but I think it's relatively safe buy-in around 6 tickets. And it's got the potential to go over 10. It's also got the potential to maybe not really ever get anywhere and go down to like 4. But I don't think this is a card that's just going to go to, you know, 2 or 3 tickets. So at least there's a nice floor there. Liliana, no. Angel of Sanctions, no. Nissa theoretically, but it's blue and green. So I don't know. It's not terrible, but I just don't like the 2-color requirement. I'm not saying this card won't make you money. I mean, I could definitely see this card going up. I don't feel confident enough that I would want to recommend buying it, but truthfully, I probably will pick up some copies. I think I got like one I just randomly picked up on a whim. I'll probably buy some more copies just because I believe this card at some point has a lot of potential. But I like the X variability on this card. I like the Scry ability, is kind of cool. But I even like the 0 ability. I like the -6. It's got a lot of interesting things going on. I just don't like the 2 colors. It's kind of my problem with it. Really limits the deck options for it. Anyway, so I don't recommend it, but I'm going to buy some. So whatever you want to make of that. As Foretold is interesting. This is the kind of card that's interesting for a different reason. I don't think this card is going to pop because of its own powers and abilities and all that. It could. I could be wrong. But I just don't see... I see this as being a more weirdo legacy modern card that does something at some point than standing alone on its own power and standard. But I could see Saffron, the guy on MTG Goldfish who makes funky decks that people go nuts over and buy cards. I could totally see Saffron making a deck with this card and it like busting up the 3 tickets. And something like that. This just seems like the kind of thing that Saf would make a deck on, and somebody could make a lot of money just from waiting for Saf to make a deck. So, I don't really recommend you buy this card. But I think there's like a 50-50 chance that you let this card trend down maybe just a little bit more. And, you know, it's starting to dip a little bit more. You get this thing down, you know, I don't know, close to around 75 cents, and you make... Somebody's probably going to end up making some money on that. I just don't feel confident enough in it to recommend it. Kifnet the Mindful. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this. It's terrible in the current standard. Like, words cannot describe how bad this is in current standard. It costs 3. It lets you draw cards. A 5/5 flying indestructible creature for 3 mana is good. Getting to 7 cards is doable. So, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings on this. I don't ever see this as a 4 of is probably the biggest problem I have with it. Hazoret's different, because if you really think about it, this could be a 4 of. I guess everybody realizes that now. Back when I was recommending that people take a look at the card as having a potential future, I don't think I articulated it, but I could just see in my mind, yeah, this could be a 4 of. The Kefnet is not going to be a 4 of. Vizier of the Menagerie looks really interesting. I could see this. This is probably a card worth really looking at. I think this card has a lot of potential. It's 4 mana. It's a creature. It's not legendary. It gives green. Green is a color that can have extra mana, and it gives you something to do with that extra mana. It's color fixing for casting creature spells. It just does a lot of very interesting things. It's under $1 right now. The only thing is, standard has been so powerful as of late. You know, you got to ask yourself: is 4 mana for a 3/4 going to get there? Is that just, are those stats just too weak to make the cut? Right now, the answer is yes. Post rotation, the answer may still be yes. But at some point in standard, I feel like this card could do something. The only question is, are we buying in too high? Is this card have a chance to trend down even further? So I'm going to pull this. I'm kind of pulling up a series of cards here that I think have potential. So we'll just leave that in the has potential stack. Bantu it kind of falls in the same place as Kifnet. Has potential, but it's not going to be a 4 of. Unless there's some kind of Bizarro combo deck, which it's got more potential for that than Kifnet. Oketra, again, not going to be a 4 of. So, Combat Celebrant is an interesting card. I think the problem I see with this is, if it was really going to do something, there's a powerful red deck in the format right now, and it's not in that deck. So, that tells you something. And for that reason, I'm not really interested in this card. Samet's 5 mana. Glorious End. Again, I think this is the kind of card that is unlikely to get anywhere. It's just too niche. So I don't know. I think it's just too obscure to do it. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. Cruel Reality costs 7, no. Glorybringer costs 5, and it's a rare, so Glorybringer's a good card, by the way. It's a rare. I actually think buying in right now is not a terrible idea at 3, but we're not going to talk about rares. We're going to stay on mythics. So that's it for Amonkhet. Means we got 2 sets left. We're going to go ahead and hit Aether Revolt. Let's go down to our mythics. Heart of Kirin, very interesting. Keep an eye on it. Tezzeret, nope. Ajani, no. Herald, no. Alright, 4 mana Tezzeret. I don't even... Again, this is the problem. 2 different colors. I'm just going to go with no. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying... When we're looking at these cards, when I say no, I'm not saying these cards won't go up. I'm saying I don't feel confident enough about that to recommend the card. Paradox Engine, no. Ajani, no. Mechanized Production, it could do something, but I'm going to go with no. No. Planar Bridge, no. Gonti's, no. Aetherwind Basilisk. Again, all these cards are just too much mana for me to get excited about. So, Heart of Kiran's the only card I'm really going to put on the stack. That just leaves Kaladesh. So, now we take a look at Kaladesh, and we've got Torrential Gearhulk, great card, but it costs 6 mana. It's only going to get played in control decks. It's already at 18, and red deck is really good right now, and probably will be in the future. So no. Angel of Invention, no. Sky Sovereign, no. Gearhulk, nope. Gearhulk, nope. Gearhulk, nope. All the Gearhulks are no's. Nissa, no. Saheeli Rai. So Saheeli Rai is actually pretty interesting. Let's just kind of pull that to the side. Cataclysmic Gearhulk, nope. Devon Bane, also interesting. Metallurgic Summonings, no. Demon of Dark Schemes, no. Aetherworks Marvel, definitely no. Rashmi, 2 different color requirements, no. Nissa, no. Chandra, no. And that's it for Mythics. Alright, so, as you guys can see, we've gone through the sets. We haven't looked at the new set, but of the current standard sets that are going to survive rotation, we've already narrowed our possible field of mythics that we might consider looking at to make money down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. And if you really wanted to hedge your bets, you could probably just go in on all 8 of these. Whoops, not even 8. I guess it was 7. You can go in on all 7 of these cards. Let's kind of break this down a little bit further. Saheeli Rai is interesting because we know it can be powerful because it dominated standard for a while, and right now it's just everybody's kind of like whatever. At one point it was as high as 14 tickets. Now it's 1.38. It certainly requires the right kind of cards to really get there. But I don't know. I think for $1.38, I don't know. You might buy it, it may dirtle around, go down to $1, and it never does much, and you don't make anything. But if the right cards got printed and the right interactions occurred, obviously this card could be worth 5, 10 tickets. You could make a boatload. So if you're willing to lose a little bit for a chance to make a lot, it's probably not a bad card to gamble on. Devon Bane's kind of in that same boat. This is a card. Now, the MTG says this thing's been up to almost 8 tickets. That's not true. This card is always dirtled around a little below or a little over $1. Right after Hour of Devastation released, it went down to the lowest price it's ever been at, which means if the next set doesn't have immediate implications for this guy, leading up to and or right after the next set releases might be the cheapest point. But considering the cheapest point to buy this card is at 50 cents and it's at 80 cents, it's probably, I don't think it's worth holding on to save that extra little bit. If you want to speculate on this, I'd go ahead and get in now. I don't think you're going to lose a ton of money buying this at 80 cents. It's a Planeswalker that has a -1 draw card and gain some life, which is not irrelevant in a red deck world. It also lets you +1 to give -3/-0 to a creature, which is also not irrelevant in a red deck world. So I think Devon Bane actually has some pretty interesting potential, and yeah, I've got a stack of these, and I don't know, I think I like 10, 12 of these, and I'm going to probably pick up some more just because I think it's got potential. Heart of Kiran is already at 10 tickets, so the price is pretty high. The future of the vehicles deck is uncertain, but it's 2 for a 4/4 Flying Vigilance that can be crewed by Planeswalkers. It's pretty powerful. So I think that Heart of Kiran has a future. Its all-time lowest price is at $9. It's at $9.77. It's been trending down. If it keeps trending down, it's just I think an easy buy. Because I have to feel like at some point in its future, this thing is going back up to 12, 13. Just in the very recent future, it was at 17. Its highest price you know, it's been, let's see here. It's shot up to 32 tickets after it was released. Actually stabilized over 20. Got back up to, you know, kind of touching 20 after M on Ket, and then spiked back to 18. So I think picking these up with the thought that maybe it goes to 13 or 14 is not greedy or outrageous. So I feel like this is a pretty safe, conservative bet. I mean, there's always a chance to lose money, but Heart of Kiran looks like a solid way to go. Getting into the trials. Also, I don't know, this one's interesting. It's not as powerful as the last Gideon in a lot of ways, but certainly has a lot of potential. I think it could dirtle down to 3 or 4 tickets, but it could also bust out over 10. So, you know, not a bad option. I really like Uncaged the Menagerie. I think it's got less potential than any of the other cards I've talked about so far, as like, Uncaged the Menagerie has less chance of really going up than Saheeli Rai, Devon Bane, Heart of Kiran, or Gideon of the trials. But it's only 24 tickets. I mean, if this card never does anything, it just doesn't have very far to fall. I mean, even the most obscure and worthless mythics typically hang out around 15 to 20 cents. So you can buy this up with almost no risk, and if it does something, you know, it could, you know, pop up to a ticket or two, and you know, you make like a 400% return on your money for every copy you buy. So that seems pretty sweet. Nissa, I feel the least certain about this out of all of them we've talked about. I think the card has potential. It's a Planeswalker. I don't like the 2 color requirement. It's at 2 tickets. But it's been pretty steady. The reason I kind of want to pick up some more of this card is because of the fact that more supply is coming in. It's still being drafted. It's seeing no major play in any of the top decks, and yet it's still holding on steadily at 2 tickets, which tells me even when the card does nothing and supply is being added, it hangs on to a $2 price, which means once supply dries up and we're not drafting Amon Ket anymore, at least not nearly as much, and if this card, heaven forbid, actually showed up in a major deck list, I mean, the card could easily spike up to 4 or 5 tickets. So I'll probably pick up some of these. Again, I don't know if I really feel confident enough to recommend it to you, but I'm buying some. And I would, you know, I guess I'll put it this way. If you're the kind of person who's comfortable taking risks and knowing that, you know, not every card's going to work out, then yeah, I'd recommend it to you. If you're the kind of person where you've got 50 tickets and that's all you have to work with, you can't afford to really lose or be too risky with those tickets, don't buy in on a Nissa. The other thing about it is I just don't think this for the risk. I don't think this card has that huge of an upside. So I guess I can't really recommend it from that standpoint either. It's probably way more likely to bounce up than Uncaged the Menagerie, but it has you know, like, I think less upside as well. Zero of the Menagerie, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting card, has some very interesting potential. It's kind of in the same boat as Nissa, but I think a little bit better. I'd probably recommend this slightly over Nissa just because I don't think it's going to lose a whole lot more value. I think it's got enough interesting potential that it'll never be worth too much less than 75 cents. It could easily, jump up to $4 or $5. So I would actually say, like, out of all of these cards, if you're the kind of player and you've only got like 50 tickets, you really need to make the soundest investment that you can possibly make. I would probably say, if you really wanted to limit your potential loss, maybe pick up Uncaged Menagerie, because, you know, if you went like 20 tickets in on this, you're not going to lose more than a couple of tickets. You're not going to completely lose your shirt, and it has huge upside. I think that Devon Bane is, if you've got the ability to be patient, this card certainly has potential post-rotation to really do something. If you only have 50 tickets to work with, I don't know if that I'd recommend Heart of Kiran, just because it's going to take around 40 tickets just to pick up a playset. So it's not really great. You can't really make that much money in that situation, even if it goes to like 14 tickets. And Gideon could actually go down, so I wouldn't recommend that. Saheeli Rai may never do anything. So I guess I'd recommend, like, probably Devon Bane, just because I don't think it can go down that much. Has some reasonable upside. Maybe Uncaged the Menagerie. These may never go anywhere, but you're not going to lose too much. These would be the conservative bets, just because you really can't lose too much going with Devon Bane and Uncaged the Menagerie at this point, and they have some pretty cool upside. if you're the kind of person that has a lot of tickets, like you got like 1,000 tickets, you want to swing for the fences, buying Heart of Kirin is kind of basically where it's at. And or just picking up a slew of, like, maybe 20 of each of these cards. You're probably not going to go wrong with a basket of these. These 7 cards right here are where I think you have the best potential to go from nothing to quite a bit in terms of making money in Standard. So I've broken down all 4 sets that are going to survive post-rotation in terms of the Mythic Rare slots and what I think are the best 7 cards to keep an eye out on. You could buy into any or all of these right now, and I don't think that would be a bad call. It would be a reasonable thing. I don't know for sure that they're all going to make it, but I think if you picked up 20 copies of each of these at the price they're at right now, I think when the dust cleared, you'd make money and not lose money on the diversified averages of these cards right now. So the last thing I want to talk a little bit about is Magic the Gathering Online Trading League. From time to time, I bring you guys kind of an obscure gem that you should keep an eye on. I can't remember if I've ever talked about this or not, but Magic Online Trading League is basically a place where people go to trade physical Magic cards with each other mostly. So people will post the cards they want, the cards they have for trade on a forum, and then you can go on there, and there's even this little application that tries to match people's have and want lists. So it doesn't always work that well, but it kind of gives you something to work with. Anyway, I think it's pretty sweet. Like, I've used this. This thing's been around forever. It's kind of an antique at this point, and a lot of people, I think, have written off Magic Online Trading League as defunct or dead. It's not defunct. It's not dead. It's a lot slower than it used to be in terms of not having as much traffic, but if you've got a bunch of cards that you're not going to do much with that you'd love to trade out for stuff that you think has a lot more potential, site's super sweet. I've already, I've done a handful of trades on here. I've never been ripped off. And the thing that's really interesting about Magic Online Trading League is if you ever wanted to trade your digital cards for physical cards or trade your physical cards for digital cards, this is not a bad place to try to do something like that. So just something to keep in mind that it's an option. I know a lot of people probably know about Magic Online Trading League from times past. Everybody kind of acts like it's not worth it, but I really think it is. If you're not familiar with it and this is new to you, I know it's pretty obscure, but check it out. It's at least an option to evaluate. There is some risk involved, but if you trade with people who have a lot of positive feedbacks, you're in pretty safe territory. And it could be an interesting way to convert physical to digital or digital to physical by trading, and there's not a ton of options to do that. So that's why I wanted to point it out. This is Cartel Aristocrats. You can find this as a podcast on smartphone, or you can find it just here on the internet. They have their stuff on SoundCloud, and basically it's some high-level Magic dealers that talk about basically high-end stuff, and it's good stuff. Check it out. It's funny because in one of the episodes, one of the guys on there talks about how they got their start on Magic Online Trading League, and he actually talks about it like an old antique that is defunct again, which compared to what it used to be in times past, it is it doesn't see nearly as much traffic. But anyway, just a couple of gems. Cartel Aristocrats, Magic Online Trading League, some good stuff there. And I think that's all I got for you guys for today. So anyway, this is Magic Online Speculation, Economics, and Finance, Birdman, reminding you that Magic is just as fair and balanced as most cable news outlets. And with that, I will sign off. Peace out, guys.